Meus amigos, vamos começar então a sessão.
Dear friends, let's start our session. We are internationalized already. I would only like to thank you for your presence for the time being. Later on, I would say a few words more, but let me tell you what is going on today. We'll have an introduction by the president of the Patriots Foundation. Then we will have introductory remarks by the director of the Madrid office of the Center for Fundamental Rights. He's Hungarian, but he is in Madrid. Then we'll have two panels. And after those two panels, we will have the closing remarks. António Pinto Basto will sing to us some fados. And then we will invite you all to a cocktail. That's what's about to happen today.
I'd like to invite my friends and the president of the Patriots Foundation and my colleague in the European Parliament, meu colega no Parlamento Europeu, András László. Please, the floor is yours.
Freedom is at the very core of Christian faith, Western civilization, and democracy. Freedom is at the core of Christian faith because we are individually responsible for our actions in front of God. Freedom is at the core of Western civilization because it was Roman law and later rule of law that has limited absolute power and allowed rational debate, the competition of ideas, scientific advancement, the Industrial Revolution, and entrepreneurship. Freedom is at the core of Western democracy because it was democracy in ancient Greece which laid the foundation for public debate, freedom of speech, and a system of representation. A very limited understanding of freedom is that people should be allowed to do whatever they want. This is basically a negative approach because it defines freedom as a lack of constraints. A better definition of freedom is the right to pursue our own good without depriving others of doing the same. In reality, I believe that the most accurate definition of freedom is one that is very close to what philosopher, political thinker John Locke said. Locke said that liberty is not doing whatever you want. It's being free to choose what is right. In my words, freedom is the capacity to do what is right. This definition is more than just a lack of constraints. It carries value. It means that you are morally and intellectually able to differentiate between what is right and what is wrong. It means that you are not merely acting in your own interest. It means you believe in a set of values. What set of values, you may ask? Humans are not just individuals sharing the same planet. We are social creatures. We live and thrive in community, through our family and friends, through our working community, through our local neighborhoods, and through our nations. These communities live by and are held together by a set of values to which everyone must be loyal or they will face penalties. The same way, Europeans are not just individuals sharing the same continent. We have committed the most atrocious evils to one another before embarking on a path of European integration. We have learned to live together in a community larger than nations, one that respects national differences in tradition, in languages, in interests. European integration united Europe not by force, as many empires have tried and ultimately failed, but based on consent. It made Europe thrive after the most destructive war the world has ever seen. If we take into account the Europe of today, we see economic stagnation and growing financial uncertainty of households. We see social tensions growing, millions of illegals brought into Europe who have a different set of values than those of ours. We see families falling apart, fertility rates dropping, kids being told that they were born into the wrong body. We see war raging again. And there are many who want you to believe that this is normal or inevitable. Making people believe that there is no other choice is just as opposed to freedom as blurred the lines between good and evil. If freedom is at the core of Western civilization, and it is what made Europe great, can we conclude that the difficulties we face today in Europe come from the failure to uphold freedom in Europe? I certainly think so. It also means that we cannot restore European greatness without a thorough understanding of freedom and how it is being undermined. We need to fight back against the people and ideas that undermine our values and freedoms, because the ideas promoted by the woke radical left groups and liberal media are based on a false understanding of rights and the distortion of what European values really mean. The Patriots for Europe Foundation has partnered with the Center of Fundamental Rights to do exactly just that. Our conference today, The Great Pushback, Freedom First, includes two panel discussions. One on freedom of expression with French and Portuguese members of Parliament and European Parliament, Virginie, Joron, and José Carvalho, as well as Professor Riccardo Marchi. And the second panel about wokeism with Professor Teresa Nogueira Pinto, I hope I pronounced it right, Spanish Member of Parliament Jorge Buxadé, and politician entrepreneur Miguel Cortea Real. And I'm grateful for the help and presence of Antonio Tanger Correa, Vice President of CHEGA, Vice President of the Patriots for Europe Group, and my colleague in the European Parliament, who played a major role in making this conference possible. Last but not least, we are honored that Mr. André Ventura will join us, President of CHEGA, and he has accepted our invitation to speak at the conference today. CHEGA is a shining example to all patriots in Europe that with courage, leadership, and the right values, it is possible to build a big movement in defense of freedom and restore common sense in politics. And he built a big movement in very short years, and I'm convinced that more and more Portuguese people will join him to defend freedom and make Portugal great again. As I said earlier, freedom is the capacity to choose to do what is right. It takes all of us, restoring peace in Europe, restoring economic growth and prosperity, defending freedom. It takes all of us. We must all be champions of freedom. The Patriots for Europe Foundation will carry the flag of freedom across Europe. This is why we are here today in Lisbon. Thank you for coming and have a good time. Enjoy the conference.
Thank you, András. As usual, very good. Okay, that's my seat, but it's all right. Virginie is occupying your seat. Now I'd like to call Mr. Vajk Farkas. He's the director of the Center for Fundamental Rights and Civic Rights in Madrid, and is also one of the sponsors of this event. The floor is yours. Thank you.
Boas noites, obrigado. You are not lucky because my speech will be much more longer. Ladies and gentlemen, fellow patriots, I can't begin with anything other than the news of the week and to say that I am simply so proud, and I think that we patriots have every reason to be proud, because the presidents of the United States and Russia will meet in my homeland, Hungary, where one of the founders of the Patriots for Europe, Viktor Orban, our Prime Minister, will host them to discuss peace in Ukraine. I think this is the result of the Hungarian Prime Minister's consistent pro-peace stance. Meanwhile, the Brussels elite has driven itself out of the world's important decision-making. We, patriots, are writing history with every step we take. As Viktor Orban said at CPEC Hungary, no migration, no war, no gender. This is our program. Let's hope we are moving closer to peace in Ukraine. Ladies and gentlemen, in recent days, European Commission published its new LGBT equality strategy. Under this plan, it could become mandatory across the EU to introduce measures allowing anyone to decide their own gender regardless of age. That would mean that even small children could decide without any say from their parents. It could cause irreversible harm. And if a country refuses to comply, Brussels will be quick to punish. Fellow patriots, this single piece of news sums up everything that's wrong with the European Union and why it's heading in the wrong direction. And here are 3 reasons why. First, there is war just beyond our borders. Europe's economy is in ruins. Ordinary Europeans are struggling to make ends meet. Even in Germany, the welfare state is coming to an end. The German Chancellor himself said so. And Europe is rapidly losing its significance in the international stage. And Ursula von der Leyen and the Brussels coalition of EPP and socialists have no answer to any of this. Instead of dealing with the real issues facing Europeans, they resort to empty gestures. Second, the Brussels leadership wants to interfere in matters that are none of its business. In recent years, behind every step Brussels takes, behind every botched attempt at crisis management, one principle is at work: building and strengthening the European empire. What we, ordinary Europeans, see as a failed crisis management that harms our interests, Brussels sees as a successful operation. Another chance to seize more sovereignty from the member states and quietly pool more power to EU institutions. Take the EU's immigration policy, for example. It has caused irreversible damage to Europe, yet it expanded Brussels' authority. Or look at the COVID response. A step toward indebtedness, but again, more power for Brussels. What harms Europe helps the empire builders. They couldn't care less about what happens next. And the third lesson from this grim news is that what we call woke. Woke is nothing more than the old communist worldview repackaged, upgraded, and dressed up to look fashionable. They can't fool us. I come from Hungary, where for 40 years, under the shadow of Soviet tanks, the minds were filled with the same kind of ideas. We can recognize them from a mile away. Every empire needs an ideology, and the Brussels elite, unsurprisingly, has no use for Europe's millennia-old Judeo-Christian culture. So they've embraced woke, another step in dismantling Europe's religious and national identities. Now their target is the family. Even biology no longer matters. Margaret Thatcher warned back in the 1990s that while the Soviet Union ruled from a center command had collapsed, the European Union was moving in the same direction, toward the Brussels center determined to seize power from the member states. And yes, we are moving down that road faster and faster. As I said, there is already a single imposed ideology, woke. Brussels wants to meddle in everything, and anyone who refuses to think like the Brussels elite is punished. To return to the example I mentioned earlier, they now want to turn children against their parents, just like in the old communist tale of Pavlik Morozov, which taught children to betray their own parents for the sake of the communist cause. Fellow patriots, these are frightening prospects for Europe. But there is hope, a real hope. First of all, Donald Trump is back to the White House. And of the 2 pillars of the woke empire, on one side, the United States, once led by the Democrats and the deep state, and the progressives elite in Brussels, the former one is now lost to woke. The new American administration is doing everything it can to restore common sense. It is not an easy fight. Progressives fear freedom, as the devil fears light. There is already a martyr in the struggle against woke, Charlie Kirk. He did nothing more than debate, speak his mind, and stand by his arguments. And for that, he paid with his life. Woke is dangerous, woke kills. The United States seems lost to the progressive woke movement, so it's only logical that woke has fled to its remaining stronghold, Brussels. And the more it senses defeat, the more dangerous it becomes. The other hope is you, or better to say, we Patriots. We finally understand that if we are unhappy with the Brussels government, if we see von der Leyen, Weber, and their national allies damaging Europe and harming our people's interest, we can do something about it. We, who care about Europe and the future of its people, will unite, organize, and offer an alternative. For a long time, it seemed that we Hungarians had to fight alone for common sense, but we are no longer alone. The alternative is Patriots for Europe, an initiative launched by Hungary's Viktor Orbán, Czech's Andrej Babiš, and Austria's Herbert Kickl. All three have won elections. Brussels did not allow Kickl to govern in Austria, but it could no longer stop the Babiš government from taking office in the Czech Republic. Joining them are Portugal's CHEGA, Spain's Vox, and France's Rassemblement National, among others, the winning parties of the future. Together, we will take on the European elites and reclaim the institutions they have seized. We can and we will restore those institutions to serve Europe's people, not the empire builders or woke ideology. The alternative is the political community of patriots. It is bigger than just the European Party and their national parties. It is a much broader political movement. We may disagree on many things, but we are united in one aim: to return Europe to common sense, prosperity, and freedom. That alone is a solid foundation for joint work and common fight, because this is a fight, and not just any fight. It is a fight against a European elite that is growing even more desperate, led by von der Leyen and Soros' Open Society, of course. They cannot allow power to slip from their hands, because if it does, their entire Brussels-based woke empire will collapse. They will do whatever it takes to make their will prevail, even if it means defying the will of the voters. Look at Austria. Next year, there will be elections in my country, in Hungary. And just as before, they will do everything they can to prevent a patriotic government and instead install a Brussels puppet to rule Hungary. The Hungarian elections are a symbolic fight between Brussels globalists and the patriots. That is why we must be strong. That is why we must fight. Babiš has recently shown in the Czech Republic that no matter how many tricks Brussels try, the patriotic wave cannot be stopped. Dear ladies and gentlemen, fellow patriots, from where I stand, our Portuguese friends from CHEGA also look unstoppable. They are climbing in the polls and having good results in elections, just as they did this weekend in the local races. Congratulations. Keep going and keep winning. This is the secret. And at the same time, CHEGA is hosting today's conference, for which we are truly grateful, and special thanks from the Center for Fundamental Rights for you. Patriots from every corner of Europe have gathered here in Lisbon today to compare notes and look ahead. Only a strong, well-organized patriots community can offer Europe a genuine patriotic alternative based on freedom, peace, prosperity, and a strong Europe made up from strong nations. That's exactly what we are building. As the prisoner's chorus in Fidelio says, "Oh, what joy in the opener, freely to breathe again. Hope whispers softly in my ears, we shall be free, we shall find peace." Thank you very much. Obrigado.
Dear ladies and gentlemen, my name is Fanni Lajkó. I am an EU policy analyst at the Center for Fundamental Rights. And tonight we mark another milestone in our shared European journey, because with the Patriots for Europe Foundation and also for the Center for Fundamental Rights, we have organized two events with you Patriots. We began the journey in Brussels in April, where we discovered and discussed sovereignty and self-determination. Then in Rome in July, we have focused on the dangers of mass immigrations and the protection of our borders. And tonight here in Lisbon, now we turn to the heart of the matter: freedom of expression, the foundation of every democracy and every sovereign nation. Together, we are traveling through the capitals of patriotic Europe, giving voice to the nations that refuse to be silenced. Tonight, we have heard two opening speeches from Mr. András László and also from Mr. Vajk Farkas, but we also have another special speaker who will be joining us soon after he is coming through the press, and because he has a lot of interviews behind the doors. But before that, I would like to just shortly introduce what our first panel will be about. The first panel is titled Silencing Dissent, the Assault on Free Expressions. This discussion will explore how social media overlords, EU bureaucrats, and also the global elites seek to limit free speech and silence dissenting voices across Europe, and how patriots, how we can fight back and defend the truth, how we can defend the debate, and how we can defend democracy. Also, we will have a second panel where we will speak about the woke ideology. We have seen that across the globe, the woke ideology has been spreading wildly. It affects our children, it affects our whole society, because this is an ideology that the Brussels elite wants to push to us. We have been fighting this ideology in Hungary, and we have seen that also the United States has had the same fight, and we are very proud that Hungary can be shown as an example for all the patriotic forces, because what our aim is to defend children, to defend them from these ideologies that do not care about children. They only care about their elites and only about their ideologies. So what we would see today is that we have two very important questions that we have to fight: the freedom of expression, when we will also be joined by a member of European Parliament from France. And for them, this question, freedom of expression, is very important. They are facing a very important political debate in France right now. Freedom of expression is being attacked, because we can see that in the political sphere, the patriotic and the conservative voices are being turned down. We have seen in France that Ms. Marine Le Pen has been at the center of attacks. They have been attacking her from a legal and also from a political perspective. We have seen that in Hungary, we are being not only attacked by legal and political means, but also by financial means. And we can all say that what is important that we stick together. We have seen that last year, when we established the Patriots for Europe group in the European Parliament, we have stood in the third place. So bronze shines very nice, but it would be best if we could have the gold medal. So we have a very big journey ahead of us, but I think we can fight that soon. We need all the Portuguese friends from ours, we need the Spanish friends, everyone from France, because what Mr. Farkas Vajk told us, that everyone has to win. This is the key to success, because if all of us wins in our member states, everyone is strong in their home country, then we can have a very good cooperation in the international sphere. We have seen that there are more and more patriotic leaders who are sitting in the European Council. We have seen that if more and more people come, then we can defend our shared values, but we do need you to win in your countries. So please keep the fighting on. And we have a fighter joining from us from Portugal. He's on his way. And Mr. Tanja Correa is going to introduce him soon. He has been through a very rough weekend, but it was a very successful one as well because of the elections, because you have had a very good result. So congratulations on the last weekend's results. And now please welcome the special guest.
Peço desculpa por esta demora.
I apologize for this delay, but there's a new fact here. Our President André Ventura, instead of closing the meeting, is now going to address us today. There's also a new fact. We're not only going to host here only the President of CHEGA. It's not enough to be President of CHEGA. We want also to have a president. We want to have a president, and we have a candidate to president. Nobody can be a better candidate than our candidate. It's not a joke, it's a fact. Everybody knows that there's a fundamental difference between our candidate and the other two candidates. With the president of CHEGA and the future president of the Republic, André Ventura.
Meus caros, muito boa tarde a todos. Antes de mais, saudar este...
Very good afternoon to you all. I would like to congratulate you for this meeting of Patriots. So, I'm very happy to speak in Portuguese. In this meeting, in many meetings, we have spoken in various languages, but we're very proud to host you in our house, and also to be sure that in this movement that the Patriots are really an alternative for Europe. And when this alternative meets in Lisbon, we are even prouder. Thank you very much.
Vivemos tempo de mudança.
Well, we are living in a time of change. Very strange times now. We are in a real cultural battle in Europe. And this cultural battle is not a battle only about politics. It is a cultural battle in its deeper sense. Give you these news. Maybe those who are not Portuguese or don't live in Portugal don't know. Today, we managed to make history by approving a law which prohibits burqas in the whole space of Portugal.
E há uma vitória que não é...
It's a victory. It is not a party victory. It's a victory of the country. It means that the country has a reason to say that those who come to Portugal, to live in Portugal, even when they have other religions, when they come from other spaces, they have to understand that we are a Christian country, which is not afraid of hosting others, but those who arrive here have to understand this. This Christian country receives you, but you have to respect our values and our Christian culture.
Isso significa...
So this means that this was voted today in Parliament on the proposal of CHEGA is a historical moment in this country. Very few thought that we would reach this objective. We're not the only one in Europe. Belgium and France have adopted similar legislation. It's not we're not persecuting any religion or any minority. It's a country. This is what a Christian country should do, to receive migrants without fearing, asserting our values and our difference. This is why our law has to do also with the very important questions linked to security. It's not only an issue of security and public order, because those who go out in the streets with their face masked create an issue of security, because of this Europe after the Second World War opted to always kneel before the cultures of other people. Because today there is a European movement today who won't kneel anymore and who are going to uphold this Christian culture in Europe and in the world.
E também problema.
And there's also a problem of identity, of equality, in the way that we look at our women. We don't want to persecute anybody, but how can you imagine that in the 21st century that there are people who think that women are just a piece of good? I cannot accept that women are second-class citizens without any rights, and that can be considered as a piece of goods. This should be a debate between decency and indecency, a debate between the true values and the wrong values. And what I remark with a lot of curiosity, that these people from the left who spent years to talk about equality between men and women were the first to rise against a law aiming at defending women. They went to home supporting Palestinians and terrorist movement. They went on flotillas in the Mediterranean, spending holidays when other people were working, just to feigning that they were standing for peace. When came the moment of decision to be on the side of decency or indecency, on the side of women, or on the side of terrorists or those who want the good of the world, they took the wrong side. Maybe they won't like this movement, but there's no doubt about this. The world and our Europe should not go on the left. They are oriented, they're going to the right, and we are going to lead Europe as the wall of the right of the world. We're going right. We're going right.
Mas também uma batalha cultural.
There's also a cultural battle, because this is experienced by all the patriots of Europe, and we are increasingly attacked in our identity, in our party structure, in the whole of Europe. Those parties, patriots parties, are pursued and attacked, and the leaders are persecuted. Sometimes they go to prison. There's harm done to them in some countries. And it's not only today, as it happens to me as president of the party and a lot of leaders of the party. They also uphold the fact that minorities have to comply to rules. And this is the same also in France, in Belgium, in Germany. Most of these countries want to defend their matrix of civilization. A lot of our leaders, of course, go to prison, but we are the stronghold of the defense of the new civilization. We have to be the stronghold of the defense of dignity. And this involves a cultural war, not against our culture. It is to uphold our culture, because our culture is now being threatened. Our culture of freedom, of pluralism, our culture of identity is under attack. And today I had the opportunity, because of this law against the burqas, to listen to various comments of the left. They say, if you are prohibiting the burqas, well, remove all the crucifixes. If women cannot wear burqas and walk in the street, it is an attempt, an attack to their freedom. What if women want to wear burqas? Let them. The parliamentary leader of the communists said that it was an attack to liberty, to freedom. The women should assert themselves through their own freedom, and they had to decide themselves whether they wanted or not to wear burqas. No, we should not be childish. We should not be afraid to say things what they are. There's no woman who wears burqas because they want to. They wear burqas because they are oppressed, and this is the truth.
Mas isto mostra nível.
This shows a level of cultural war that, because of the universities, of the schools, of the press, of the academics, our environment has been dominated by this spirit. My first answer is: don't you think that this is an attack to freedom? If it was the other way round. And what really pains me to see that women, whether they are from the left or the right, journalists and academics, to say that in Iran there are people who were women who were executed because they did not wear the veil or did not hide their face. Now they say, well, they're afraid now that the extreme right. There's no extreme right. What we have is a cultural invasion that we should never have permitted. But those who do not contribute, they are subverting us from the inside, and we cannot accept this. We were too permissive when we say that a country is a nation. We must stop being soft. We have to become tough. And the reason why we decided to fight, and we wanted not to resist, and the reason of this great pushback are those. I would like to say that I fulfilled my mission, that I fought against with this great fight. We're going to gain power in Portugal. This is this country. We're going to win in Spain, in France, in other countries. But it's secondary. It's not about power. It's about future. It's about the future of our young people. It's the future that we want to offer to the new generations. It's not because András is going to be president or Antonio will be the power or Tiago president. No. It's not because Santiago or Marine Le Pen will be president. No. It's about the future. The stake is what we're going to offer to the new generations. We have to think about the future. We should not be silent faced with what is happening. If we want a future, should we apologize for the past? Should we say apologize for our colonial past? We should be proud of this colonial past. Say that we are a great country. We're part of a family of great countries. And the great countries don't apologize. They are proud of their history. They are proud of their historical heritage.
É este movimento que nós temos que criar. E é este movimento que nós temos que levar.
This is the movement we have to create. This is what the Patriots are doing now throughout Europe. It is this elevation or sub-elevation. This is a fight which is fought in the street, house by house, until we win the soul and the hearts of all Europeans. And this is the battle we're going to fight. As our friend Tange said, I will be the candidate to the next presidential election in Portugal.
O que nos move não são pessoas.
But what moves us is not people, but causes. We are here not because of a person. We are here for a movement of freedom.
Também é por essa liberdade.
And also, candidate is also for freedom.
Verdadeiramente entristecido.
And I'm really saddened because of the other three main candidates say that no, Portugal should not control their immigration, that the law for foreigners are not the right ones, that we should be careful about the health issues of foreigners. We should understand that Portugal cannot solve the problems of the whole world. We cannot open our doors to the whole world because we have to stand for our employment, our health and happiness. What we must do is that many people don't like to listen because we have to say that in Europe should be the European first. In Portugal, the Portuguese come first.
Também não quero deixar, porque sei que este é
Also, I know that this is a movement which goes far beyond our frontiers.
tem feito trabalho incrível.
I mean that some people have made a unique work
Vital da liberdade.
to defend the vital center of this question of the conflict between Israel and Palestine. The Europeans cannot solve all the wars of the world, neither can the Americans. We have to know where is the democracy. We have to know who are the right ones, who are the countries respecting justice, and those where there is no justice, where the justice is the law of the stronger ones, the country who respects women, who treats them like objects. This is not a choice of sympathies to be more Jewish or more Islamic. It's a choice of concerning between decency and indecency, to stand for liberty and those who stand for oppression and dictatorship. We respect for Europe.
Tem que ser sempre aquilo.
Well, we have to be patriots. We have to fight for freedom. And I would like to remind you, Charlie P.
Este seja o momento.
Don't think that this is a especially evocative moment and what we're going to do specifically on this day. But we have met for freedom. But those people that we took as examples seem to vanish sometimes when they haven't been. President Charles Leclerc played an important role. We may not agree for him, but he did something that many in these people would like to do, to face people face to face your opponents, and not have the courage to stand for your ideas. Our idea of freedom is this. Our oppositors never have been the guardians of liberty, like Charlie Kirk tried to do better in our continent. He stood for liberty, freedom and pluralism. We have to understand that sometimes you have to give your life for freedom, for our culture. Sometimes we have to give our life to uphold our values. And this great European movement, this great movement of European Renaissance should be this, against our opponents and despite our opponents, and even taking into account our adversaries. Never forget these values: liberty, live the patriots, and liberty, and viva Portugal.
Bem, vamos dar ao início então ao primeiro painel.
Now we're going to start the first panel.
Gostava de vos dar
I have an important news.
é que a nossa
Our
Ritinha
Ritinha
faz 2 anos. Ela
is having her birthday. She's going to be 27. Let's applaud her and wish her happy birthday.
uma grande lutadora pela liberdade,
a great fighter for freedom,
tal como Charlie Kirk.
like Charlie Kirk.
And now I'd like to ask for the moderator of the first panel. É uma das grandes vozes na Hungria.
Is one of the great voices in Hungary, an important influencer,
Liderar o primeiro painel.
and she's going to lead the first panel.
Thank you very much. So as I mentioned, the first panel is focusing on free expression. We're going to talk about the assault of free expression that we see from foreign actors. So first of all, please welcome on stage Virginie, Joron, member of European Parliament from the Rassemblement National. José Carvalho, member of the Portuguese Parliament from CHEGA. And Riccardo Marchi, political scientist and research professor from Italy.
It's okay like this.
It's perfect, thank you. Is the microphone working? Yes, perfect. So, in an age where social media platforms and Brussels regulations and also the global NGOs increasingly shape what can and cannot be said, the question of who really controls democratic debate in Europe has never been more urgent. Across the continent, we see conservative voices labeled as dangerous, we see patriotic movements labeled as extremist, and an entire national debates framed by actors far beyond their borders. Whether it's through algorithms, whether through international media narratives, or also by Brussels-led NGOs, we can say that foreign interference in Europe's political life has been subtle yet systematic. Tonight we'll explore how this section of free expression and electoral sovereignty is unfolding, and how European nations can reclaim the right to speak freely and decide their own future. So let's begin from hearing from our panelists, Mrs. Joron. In recent years, we have seen attempts from the European Union in several member states that they are trying to influence the national elections in the name of protecting democracy. How is this pressure visible in France, and particularly against your party?
Bonsoir à tous et
Good evening to you all. I'm going to speak in French.
je les remercie. C'est un sujet évidemment.
Well, this is a very important topic, and of course, the more the patriotic parties increase, the more Brussels get excited.
Un écosystème.
Each of the member countries have put in an ecosystem to organize elections, and also an ecosystem to protect a certain narrative with NGOs. In France, you should know that 1/3 of the press is dominated by those NGOs. And also in Brussels, also they want this narrative, an European construction which is going to save the European citizen. We have been sold as the single market, the single currency, and no border. And now we see that the European Commission wants to go further. They use a certain crisis to gain more ground. We had the pandemic. They took they want to dominate the health movement, and with Ukraine, they want also to deal with defense. But now with I've been a long time with the Rassemblement National, heard everything. First they were accused of racism, of nationalism, of plotting. I've expressed myself to obtain freedom. For me, freedom is a fundamental pillar, but it doesn't work. And you are the example. All these narratives don't work. all these speeches don't work. And they told us that maybe the Commission should have other competencies, and also they should deal with democracy. This is why with Antonio we work in this special committee, because this special committee has been just set up to sell us towards the idea that tomorrow the Commission is going to protect us, to stand for democracy.
We can also see that in Portugal you have the topics that affect all the patriotic countries. Also, as Mr. Ventura mentioned, migration. The question of migration affects all of our nations in an economic and also in a cultural way. What do you think, Mr. Carvalho? What is the political atmosphere here in Portugal? How the EUs or even the NGOs financed by foreign actors try to influence these questions, and how do they try to affect these political areas?
Bom, permitam-me, antes de mais, muito boa tarde, permitam-me, uma vez que estamos em Portugal e uma vez que
Once that we are in Portugal, I would like also to take the floor. I would like to speak in Portuguese. Now, the Patriots want to speak in their own language. And since we are in Portugal, it is an enormous privilege to be here with the Patriots, and the image that we give in the Monument of the Discoveries, that we are in Portugal, we are honored and not ashamed of our past. And of course, we're talking about Patriots for Europe. This image is there, shows clearly our values and our principles of Western Christian civilization. So I would like these three words have been forgotten. These are our references to identity, to glory and history. And this is what is very particular to us, the Western spirit, the Western arm, and the Portuguese arm. It represents the past. It represents those the heroes of the past, and represents every one of us, and those with the grace of God were born, and with the grace of God will give continuity to this heritage, to this history, not only of the Portuguese people, and also of what is the Western Christian civilization, and what is the honor to belong to such an heritage which is represented by the Patriots of Europe. I would like also to talk about Charlie Kirk, and just a simple remark that the president of André Ventura mentioned Charlie Kirk. Allow me, without exaggerating, to refer to this example of crusader of the 21st century fighting for freedom. And of course, the associate with freedom, I would like also to talk about the fundamental topic, which is the truth. In the world, in our world, the dictatorship of relativism, to speak the truth and to speak about freedom has become an act of courage. And all those who are here and represent our patriots from all over the world, we are fighters for freedom, and we can refer to the example of Charlie Kirk, a crusader. He should be our inspiration, and also should be our reference for this meeting today of the Patriots of Europe. I think that also those allow me to ask Charlie Kirk may inspire us all for our next fight and our next struggles. We know that a lot of people here are believers, and the evangelical message asks us to fight. And I want to believe that us believers, believing in these values, in the spirit of the Western world that the Portuguese people should not only be inspired by Charlie Kirk and by all these men who represent the past, all those who knew that they were going to a big adventure. They knew that they were going to fight. They were not sure of being able to vanquish. But all those who are here, we know that we're going to fight and that it will be possible to win. And this is what also to fight this as an example. Talking about the Portuguese example of this fight for freedom, we have also a freedom in the first initial phase, which seemed to be impossible. But with the impossible was made possible. We know that the make the possible, and here in Portugal, with the CHEGA movement, it has been possible to make possibles with the impossible. It was impossible in 2019. After 2 years, we had 2 new elections, and there was a to exterminate the CHEGA from the parliament and exterminate them in the next election by the press, by those who make public opinion, those who were giving orders for the people not to vote. So it was, and we were 12, and now, 1 year after, it was impossible to increase our numbers, especially with the bipartidarism in Portugal, a kind of rotation between the socialist and the social democrat. But it seemed impossible, but it became possible, and we gained 55 members of parliament, and now we have 65. So these were great victories. And the next day, in the next elections, we won't be only 60, we'll be a majority to form government. Allow me, I don't know if I'm taking too much time. It's always very complicated to ask a professor to not to speak too much and to ask a professor, an academic who is now an MP, and he's become a politician. So it's difficult to ask such a person not to talk too much. But I can tell you that we have this challenge now. It is not... It will be easy, probably, to win the elections, but it will be more difficult to win the next challenge, to form a government, and above all, to be able to govern with a stable majority, which will give us the guarantee to implement the program of CHEGA for the country. Not only for the next elections, but it is a challenge that André Ventura has asked us. We don't have to be concerned only with the elections, but with the new generation. This is the main concern of the CHEGA party. They are thinking about the future of our young people. This is the concern of the Patriots, not to be concerned only about the elections, but to prepare the work for the next generation. And this is the great challenge for all the Patriots, not only with the CHEGA movement, but also with all the Patriot movements in Europe, which honor the history of each of the nations and guarantee their sovereignty. These are essential values: the family, peace, private property, and sovereignty. What we want, the children to be born, to protect them so that they can grow up and not be killed. We're not only concerned by the elections, but with the new generations. This is how we can build and guarantee our future. This is our genuine concern. I think that I have answered the questions which have been put with me. Please, I apologize for talking too much. Thank you very much.
It is never too much if it's such an inspiring and moving speech. Thank you very much. So we can all say that here in this room we are patriotic people who love our nation, who love our culture, and we keep fighting. And we are very brave about expressing our opinion. But because of this, we get a lot of attacks, and we also see the consequences. But what about the academic sphere? We can see that there is also an ideological conformity in the universities where the young people go and when they enter the university building, what they hear from their teachers, from their professors, is mostly the leftist ideas. What do you see, Mr. Marchi, in the academic sphere? How does this affect the intellectual freedom across Europe that at the universities we can see such an ideological conformity?
Obrigado pelo convite. Deixe-me dizer que eu também.
Well, thank you for the invitation. I would like to talk in Italian as well because I'm a patriot as well, but I'm respectful for the interpreter, so I was not invited to speak in Italian, and so I will speak in Portuguese because I'm in Portugal.
Cultural que nós vivemos cada vez mais também nas universidades. Em relação
Well, regarding the environment that we live in academia, not only universities, but also in research, I would not be as pessimistic as conservative parties usually are. Because if we look at the guidelines, at the research guidelines of the last years, and now I'm talking about since the beginning of the 21st century, and with focusing more and more with Trump's first election, and academia was focused on reason. So all the efforts which were practiced at the European and national level to block this sovereignty wave of the populist right wing parties is not working. And so not as much as the different European institutions or the non-governmental organizations. They are imposing their own agenda in European society, but it's the other way around. How this imposition of agenda work is not providing results, the expected results. So mainly in law, political science, sociology, and philosophy, even philosophy, there is a continuous questioning regarding why the powers are going in a certain direction, even in cultural imposition, and on the other way around, the European voters, a big part of the European voters are going in the opposite direction. And there's another aspect, which is, in fact, the homogenization, the cultural homogenization, which is happening inside the universities. That has to do more with the functioning mechanisms of the academic means. Universities are institutions controlled mainly or by the mainstream parties in the European parties, or in some departments by the radical left wing, which, of course, made a lot of efforts to occupy in a legitimate way certain university institutions and to develop their research. Both universities and command centers of the mainstream elites of the countries and the universities controlled by the radical left wing, usually for many decades, and the European members of parliament know this better than myself, a very strong lobbying close to Brussels in order to direct the thoughts of research. It's a lobbying which works mainly, so the northern universities from the north of Europe have a big ability to do that, which influences the financing lines of research. And so the fact that we find mainly in social sciences, and I come from social sciences, I cannot say anything about pharmaceuticals or mathematics or engineering because it's not my field. But in social science, it's obvious that there are research guidelines that are financed, but they are pre-constituted decades before. And so I do believe that this way to create cultural hegemony should be considered more than an enemy considered by the conservative parties. It should be considered a model, not to replicate or to be inspired 100%, but to understand that there's a professional way to be able to develop research, not only through public funds, but private funds as well. And so it's to invest, to intervene in lobbying in order to find funds, in order to find to do research in certain areas. And so that's what we have here in terms of research output. So all these challenges can be looked at a way of inspiration more than enemy that cannot be overcome. And exactly because in the last years demonstrated a strong ability from the conservative parties to overcome all these enemies that seem to exist.
Much of these fundings to research institutes and also NGOs and lobby groups, they receive this funding from the European Commission itself. We have made a lot of research and we have asked a lot of public data from the European Commission. What kind of NGOs are they financing and what is their main job? Are they doing political work or are they really doing what they are trying to sell us? So, Mrs. Joron, what do you see that as the European Commission, who always tends to say that they are the guardians of democracy and guardians of information and European values, what do you think? Do they use their increasing role to silence political opposition?
As I told you, the Commission has an agenda to make people accept globalization. And it uses an ecosystem like the NGOs. I would like to thank Missy, who makes very important reports knowing where goes your money. And these NGOs serve to make you accept this narrative. You're going to give money to a green NGOs who is going to do some lobbying with some MPs so that you accept that tomorrow you're going to drive electric cars. You have a whole ecosystem. You give the money. This money is going to be used by the NGOs to fund what you don't really feel like having. And our role in the Parliament, in the Euro Parliament, the Patriots, is to denounce this scam. And what is important is that in the end it does not work. There is resistance. There is pushback from the Patriots. The people try to resist. People resist. And we talk about freedom of expression. We have to uphold hold the democracy. What is it? It's the power by the people. Despite all this ecosystem, all this money thrown to the NGOs, to the lobbies, I see what happens in France. We have Terre d'Asile, who believes there are millions of money by Brussels and France. France does not even want to define what is an NGOs, but Brussels still gives them money because it is Terre d'Asile and you must accept everybody in France. But what we see in parallel, and this is the fear, is that finally you are here, we are here, we, the Patriots, are here, are getting stronger and stronger. And we've seen it last week in the Czech Republic. And we've seen one of the dissolution of Emmanuel Macron. Didn't happen, but we have more MPs, and all the polls can foresee it. We win more votes. This is why Macron does not want to dissolve our assembly, our parliament. This is why there is this strategy. And this is also the object of this talk, because this is why the Commission is wondering what to do to stop us. We're going to dominate information, because this is a wonderful tool, the information. I know that here you have an MP, an influencer, who makes a wonderful job, and this is our strength. We, at the Rassemblement National, we are the first party to use internet. And why? Because the mainstream media never invite us and manage to capitalize this fantastic resource, information. Today with the digital platform attacked everybody. Van der Leyen and the boss, and in Davos, in her speech said that it's not the crisis against famine, Ukraine. She says the crisis against disinformation. We have to fight against disinformation to protect our democracy. But what do they fear? They're afraid of us. They're afraid of us, the patriots. They're afraid of the people. They are terrified of the people. They are terrified of the polls. In France, they refuse to dissolve the parliament because they are so afraid of losing. And this is how they manage to save their government, maybe for more than 14 hours. At least we are champions of something. We have won something, fight against this government in Europe. And this is why today they want to dominate digital platforms. Since there is Musk, there is a madness in our parliament. Thierry Le Breton has waved the red card. So if it's today, there is this trend. There is a will from the Commission. We can see it in the text, even within the commissions, because we are still elected democratically. But they don't want us to accept to vice presidents or presidents. They call us fascists of the extreme right, but they don't respect democracy. They are hypocrites. And I'm very happy to be here with you, because there's more and more of us, and people are aware of all this. So the Commission does its job. We are doing our job. We are here. We are on the TV. We are on the market, and people trust us. And I'm quite happy with democracy. And tomorrow we'll vote, and we'll see what happens. The people want to be with us. They want another future for our children. And this is important. This matters a lot. It is an urgent issue. Look, some people like Macron are going to send off children to the war. And happily that we have this equilibrium with Donald Trump, who today talks about peace. When I entered the European Parliament, we talked about peace, and today we talk about war, and this is really frightening. This was the objective of the Commission. When some people talk about peace, Van der Leyen, this week we're talking about war. The centrists also talk about war, and I would like to thank Mr. Orban, because today he's going to host Donald Trump and Putin to talk about peace, because we're also here for peace. Peace is our common ambition. Thank you.
I can see that you're a true professor taking so many notes during the speeches, so you're free to tell and react to anyone. But if you can reach the goal that you have set in your previous speech, that you will have a majority in Portugal, what would do you introduce to protect the political sovereignty that all of us patriots need so much?
Permitam-me só a propósito destas questões do combate cultural, civilizacional.
Please allow me, about these issues of cultural battles, to add something of a moral issue. We talked about the funding of millions which are considered to leftist movements, and that the conservative and patriot movements don't receive these funds. I know that all those who are conservative normally are pessimists, and you should. But myself, I am an optimist by nature, and I must confess, for those who were not going to born and was baptized quickly because it was almost to die, and I've been already in this world for more than 50 years. I'm really an optimist for the funding. We should not complain about the strength of our opponent. We should think about what has been the weakness of our troops and what has been the lack of the capacity of our conservative movements to obtain the funds that our opponents obtain. The most instead of criticizing these funding by millions that our leftist adversary obtain, we should look for solutions and support to fund our initiatives and fund our civilizational and moral fight. There's another issue which might seem strange to us, a conservative who is so optimist, but you have to deal with young people. When you have been teaching for more than 20 years, we have to keep a young and optimistic spirit, because the young people are always idealists, they're always optimists, and since we deal with them for a long time, we are really touched by this optimism, and this is contagious. Some people were saying that the conservative and patriotic movements don't have most of the time the support of young people, and we are accused of movements of people who are quite old, obsessed by the past. But I have bad news. I'm looking here at the audience here, and most of people here are young people who represent the spirit of change, of confidence, and what the country needs. So this is bad news for our opponents, that we are here full of young people who have hope, confidence, and capacity to fight and to guarantee the future. So this is also another remark that we would like to leave. There's also something else. We talked here about the press, about journalists. I have some doubt that people here at home manage to give some importance and relevance to what the news and the journalists as it was some years ago, because there's also the other alternatives for communication. People have understood something which is quite basic. Generally speaking, more than journalism, what is shown in the medias, that it's not journalism but activism. Most of people, we don't have just journalists, but we have activists. And a lot of people have understood that. And we in Portugal, we are the clear proof of this. And in France, in Hungary, in Poland, in other countries, we have already understood that people are more careful and don't really believe everything that people wanted us to believe. So this is another remark. And finally, talking about the
Do mundo da investigação.
of the research, the academic world, the schools. Some time ago, I was in school, and I was also in academia, and I want to corroborate what said Professor Marchi. There has been a change of paradigm, a change of perspective from people. There's more sympathy now towards the conservative movement. The young people are more interested in conservative movements, and I was in a program that the Parliament of the Young People, and you cannot imagine the receptivity that is given us through the students when we bring representative of the CHEGA party. Everybody wants to know what is going on, everybody is enthusiastic, and they are strongly motivated in accompanying the ideas and movements of the CHEGA party. And since the conservative want to represent also hope and change, if we have the young people with us, if we have the young generations with us, this is also the guarantee that these young people will be the new generations for tomorrow. And I'll leave you a message of optimism, because the future will be ours, and I believe in this, and I believe in all those who are here. And this is why we have a guaranteed future.
As we are shortly running out of time, just one more quick question of the freedom of expression, as it is our main topic. Do you think, Mr. Marchi, that the European Union uses double standards when it says that they are defending the freedom of expression, but truly it is only true for them when it suits their liberal agenda, but they are in the meantime censoring conservative voices and opinions?
Sí, es evidente que las políticas públicas promovidas por Bruxelas refletem a relação de força histórica dentro do Parlamento Europeu. Ou seja, nós continuamos a ter neste momento uma aliança entre Partido Popular, que quando falamos do Partido Popular Europeu temos sempre de ter em conta que tem uma ala esquerda progressista bastante forte dentro do Partido Popular, e o Partido Social Democrata, e portanto são eles que impõem as linhas das políticas públicas, principalmente em matéria como o free speech, a liberdade de expressão. Isto acontece tanto a nível europeu como a nível nacional. Mas para ir straight to the point, eu queria dizer só uma coisa. Muitas destas leis sobre a liberdade de expressão são moldadas com base em conceitos políticos forjados por décadas de debate intelectual e debate acadêmico nos círculos fechados muitas vezes, mas nem tanto, da esquerda, ok? Devem ser tomados muito a sério estes conceitos políticos, não devem ser desbaratados só como o fruto de um grupo de malucos, de extremistas, de wokistas que não têm interesse nenhum. Eu creio que os partidos conservadores deveriam mudar a sua atitude e começar eles próprios a preocupar-se em forjar os seus conceitos políticos, de maneira tal que quando se fala, porque é inevitável falar nos debates sociais e políticos hoje em dia, de temas como discurso de ódio, como racismo, não seja só aquele conceito político definido pela esquerda ou pelos liberais, mas também os conceitos políticos, mesmo os conceitos políticos definidos pelos conservadores. Isto permitiria aos partidos conservadores não só apresentar uma alternativa muito mais sólida aos seus eleitorados em toda a Europa, mas forneceria principalmente aos seus militantes instrumentos muito mais efetivos nos debates que têm, não nas bolhas das redes sociais ou das echo chambers, onde é muito fácil utilizar sua polarização política e mais nada, mas em arenas muito mais difíceis de enfrentar, como as discussões parlamentares, por exemplo, exemplo, onde são forjadas as leis, ou também os debates acadêmicos, debates mediáticos, onde os vossos militantes não se encontram só a debater com opositores políticos, mas também com peritos independentes que utilizam aqueles conceitos políticos forjados por outros ao longo de décadas. Portanto, aqui concluo, o movimento conservador europeu, que está neste momento em alta do ponto de vista eleitoral, deve tornar-se um movimento em alta também do ponto de vista cultural, mas é um trabalho difícil, é um trabalho rooted, deeply rooted, para criar os próprios conceitos políticos, a própria interpretação de conceitos políticos e apresentá-la claramente aos eleitores europeus.
Thank you very much. We have reached the end of our first panel, but I'm very happy that we have such strong and brave patriotic leaders and actors who are willing to preserve our patriotic values. But I must say that we have to have another conference in Lisbon again, because there was one patriotic language missing, which was Hungarian. So next time I will be speaking in Hungarian, and we will have interpreters. Thank you very much for joining, and I'm going to give the floor to Mr. Tengere. Thank you.
Thank you very much. As a former Prime Minister said, everybody gets to the end. We are together and get to the end. We are running a bit late, but I would like to call... This is the way it is. We adapt, and in the end, we win. I would like to call our moderator of the second panel, a well-known person who has helped us a lot about our European quest on Europe. You can applaud Alexandre Sousa.
Boa noite a todos.
Good evening to you all. In that language today is the topic. We're going to talk in Portuguese in this panel. Since we have a beautiful language, we have to speak Portuguese. I would like to thank Ambassador for inviting me, and José Maria, both very competent people, and I admire them very much. And also, we are going to talk Professor Teresa Nogueira Pinto.
Chamar agora
also to call also Miguel Cortriel, who was recently elected in Porto.
E o deputado europeu Jorge Buxadé.
And the European MP Jorge Buxadé from Spain.
O tema do painel, no caso...
The topic of the panel is going to be at work tyranny, the way it's undermining Europe's soul. And I would like to thank, starting with the ladies. This is a conservative panel. I'll start with the ladies. I would like to ask Teresa how wokeism has undermined the European Union, and make a few considerations on the topic.
I'll speak in English because that was what I prepared. But I just wanted to start by thanking to the Patriots for Europe Foundation and the Foundation for Fundamental Rights. It is truly an honor to be here with you and to share a panel with people that I admire and like so much. And going straight to the point, Alexandre, I think that wokeism is the ultimate symptom of decline, of moral and intellectual decline. The good news, and I think that we could saw this today, is that it is not irreversible. But we have to realize what wokeism is if we want to fight it. And I think that there are three interesting points, and I was seeing this Patriots for Freedom Guess what was not possible? Communists for freedom or wokeists for freedom. So I think that patriots are the best guarantee for freedom right now. But what are we talking about? And very briefly, I think that we are talking about a defeated form of Marxism, because wokeism is Marxism without the materialist side. But we still have that logic of endless tensions between infinite groups, as far as your imagination can go, of oppressors and oppressed. But it is also the product of an era that tried to kill God. It will be very interesting to realize if they made it or not. I don't think they did. But the attempt to create a religion without God. So what do we have? We have empty dogmas, we have empty rituals, we have sin, we have guilt, but we have no redemption, no hope for salvation. And if you think about it, there is nothing as pessimistic as wokeism. Wokeism has no faith in the human condition, in the human nature, in the future. And finally, and maybe here I know that you'll like what I say because we have a lot of conspiracies on this, but this will be quite controversial, but I think it's the right place to say controversial things. Wokeism is a symptom of a failed liberalism, but also of the liberalism that prevailed. So this idea of an atomized individual in a fiction that is the state of nature and that lives only in itself and for itself and to satisfy its momentaneous wishes. Of course, that atomized individual with no roots, no bonds, no tradition, no past and no future, and this is also connected to the debate on migration, of course he is extremely vulnerable to the kind of tyranny that the soft totalitarianism of wokeism. So I think that we have to realize that wokeism has these three dimensions if we want to do something against it.
Jorge, pedia umas considerações iniciais. A tirania woke a minar a alma europeia. Como é que vive?
The work tyranny has been undermining Europe's soul. How do you feel this in your daily life?
Patriots for Europe Foundation and for Center for Fundamental Rights for the invitation. And I apologize for my English. I am improving my English. Yo no sé si sería mejor hablar español.
Claro.
I don't know. Better in español.
Sí.
Porque claro, yo también soy un patriota y estaba obligado.
I'm being a patriot, a bit obliged to talk in English. Of course, I remember about Gibraltar. A big problem. I would like to thank you for your intervention and also to be able to speak in Spanish. Also, I'm very happy to be in a meeting with André Ventura. I've seen him often in Spain. In Portugal, André is a nice name. But in Spain also it sounds with a lot of strength and gives us a lot of joy. He is among the three most loved leaders in Spain, and also Prime Minister André Orban. They all dispute the love of our adepts. We talk a lot about freedom. When we talk about wokeism, there is another word that we should use, truth. But for us, freedom is the freedom to find the truth. I learned since I was small that freedom was the capacity to choose between evil and good. So if you choose evil, you're not free. This is the freedom to find truth. But wokeism denies the existence of a truth. For those who are in politics, this is fundamental. If Europe, and so many times I've said, we return to Roman law, Greek philosophy and spirituality, because wokeism is barbary. It is anti-Europe. Wokeism denies the three great principles of the Greek philosophy. First, the principle of identity. The things are once, one is not equal to that one. Man is man, woman is woman, Portugal is Portugal, Spain is Spain.
Dos, consecuencia de ello, el principio.
Two consequences. The principle of contradiction. If one thing is A, it cannot be the contrary of A. This is why we say that Islam is incompatible with Portugal, also with Spain, incompatible with Europe.
Pero no por capricho.
It's not through a caprice, because this is how the brains of the Europeans think like that. When two things are incompatible, they are so. This is what multiculturalism is an ideology which is contrary to our way of thinking. When I came here, I asked the taxi driver, well, how are things today? Is it okay? And he said something. Portugal is not Pakistan. This is what people think. This is the common sense of normal people. This is what Greek philosophy shows us, the way we think. And the third consequence is that there's no middle way. When I say something, it's either true or a lie. And this denies wokeism. Wokeism sees everything gray. There are no colors. Everything is relative. No. This way of thinking is something. There's not yes, yes, no, no, no. Do you want me? Yes, I want you.
Pero luego no. Es mentira, ¿no? Esto se nos va, pues yo creo que el wokismo ataca esto que es
This is wokeism,
potente que la libertad.
much more powerful than freedom.
Porque no quieren cancelar.
Because they don't want to cancel the colonial history of Spain or Portugal, but they want to cancel two identities.
Y la identidad pasa.
And the identities goes through another truth. And I agree with you, Teresa. I am convinced this is the last phase of the decomposition of the work way of thinking, because then we'll have wokeism.
Miguel, recém-eleito numa zona difícil.
Miguel, so you are newly elected in a very hard area. So how can this theme influence your mandate? Well, good afternoon, everybody. I would like to thank our Euro Member of Parliament who invited me and organized this big event that gathers us all talking about such an important subject, and without talking about the truth, because there have been many, many years that we, the right wing, were afraid to tackle the issue. We were accommodated for a long time. We accept the delusion that freedom was an acquired data, and so we accepted that. I was born in '85, already at a time post-freedom in Portugal after the revolution of '74. And I was raised at school by saying, no, you are free, you can do everything you want. And I thought to myself, well, it's true, I'm free, I can do anything. But today, they realized that freedom led to a big issue. because freedom led to the thought, and the thought to opinion, and the aware opinion of those who think is not, does not agree with the left, and the left has forever wanted to condition the thought, because if people think for real, they will never be left, because that does not work at all. And so, what did the left wing decide to do? It decided to attack the most valuable thing, not a car. So all of you know how much a Ferrari costs, or a yacht, or. But how much does freedom cost? Nothing. And so how come something who doesn't cost anything is the most valuable thing that we have? And they realized that this was the big problem. And that's why that in the 80s, the late 80s, the early 90s in Portugal, they wanted to do the following. They wanted to disassemble our identity, just like Jorge was saying. And they started to say, well, these people living in freedom, raising families, wanting to live their lives, well, that can no longer be. And so they started by saying to get married is something, well, it's not fashion. Well, to get married, it's something out of fashion. People who start to live together, that's not important. Then, because that did not work, what did they say? No, now the important thing is to marry the same gender people. And so people have to get married. So the next step, to get married was the most important thing in the world, and same-sex people have the right to get married. Because that did not work, the most important subject of the left, now they can adopt by same-sex couples. And they tried. And then they realized it was not enough, because we in Porto and in Portugal, we cannot be fooled. And so sometimes maybe we get confused, but that's the truth. They realized that was not the way to make fools out of us. And so they understood that they had to install a virus. And the virus is wokeism, because wokeism has all this. Wokeism is a break to freedom. Wokeism wants to condition in everything. And from where? From our heads, from our brains. And because it's a virus, and the virus, they have as a characteristic is that they set in our heads, and they want to condition. When we wake up in the morning, we think, I can wear this or that, because it can hurt the other one. If we go to the bathroom or another one. And so they want to condition ourselves. And wokeism is not more than conditioning ourselves. And so what we must do in a very simple way is to fight against this virus. And that's what we've been doing. And let me tell you something. This war that they want to tackle is going wrong. And I'm telling you why. In the 90s, they said people must not get married, not have any children. And now most of young people of CHEGA are patriotic. That's the big difference. And so we have to have the responsibility of knowing the following. They will do anything. They will try anything. After this last step, they won't stop. They will go. It happened quite recently in the United States. They will get desperate. But there's something. If we stop fighting, if we believe, every time will be more and more and more. And something has to characterize us, and we must learn from this. This is truly a cultural war, a cultural battle that is done not only in the political parties, not only in the parliament, or not only in the municipality. It's everywhere. We all have to make a difference in our daily lives, at school, in our jobs, everywhere. This war can only be won like this. And let me tell you something. We won't cave. And so we are in this room, we in the right wing, we think different ways, but we are on one side of the barricade, but the enemy is on the other side. And so we must stop having stigmas that the left put us in our heads and realize the following: freedom is the most important thing, and we must fight for it. And the ones who want to fight for family are by our side, and that's what I wanted to tell you.
Teresa, aproveitava agora.
Teresa, I would like to ask a question about a book, and you were both involved. There are more authors in this room, but Teresa was giving an interview about the book that we did, that basically said that wokeism was no longer a phenomenon of the university environment. So academics closed in classrooms, conspiring with each other, talking to a group of 4 or 5 people, and now it is set in the cinema, in movies, in media, in social media, other ways to create culture. So what other mechanisms did you detect to transfer what was the department of university, a closed cycle of half a dozen people, to massify that way of thinking? Oh, okay, let me speak in Portuguese, otherwise they won't call me a patriot. You can speak in English. Well, it starts in universities, that's true. So ideas have consequences. And they start with something which is absolutely extraordinary. There's a wonderful legacy of Western philosophy, Aristotle, etc., in a dialogue which was completely interrupted because many departments of the university think they started to talk with Foucault. It's not true. And there was a very interesting movement. I do believe that Spender has a reflection. So the civilization starts in its creative part with questioning reason, and its decline, its sacrifice. And this theory is coming in university, deconstruct the truth. So it's saying, oh, the truth depends on your feelings, your perspective. And this moved on. Why? Because it went over from militant academics. And I believe I have my own students, and they can be witnesses. I hope they could never guess if I was right-wing or left-wing anyway. But it starts with that militant activism that has to do with transferring that to other fields of power. And where does this situation become very complicated? And we have to watch what is going on in the United Kingdom and Canada when it gets into law. And there's a very good chapter on a book about wokeism, about the issue how law itself and culture, which is a substract of law, was taken by the woke thought. And what seems important in all fields for me, and I was remembering Orwell, 1984, the big defeat. We are at a stage where most of us, and we have to thank brave people, because it was not cool being anti-woke, and they were. They opened the way.
Desculpa, que eu estava anti-woke.
Anti-woke, I lost myself, the speaker says. So the mechanisms of massification when they get to the issue of law. What happens in Orwell, 1984? What is the big defeat? It's not for us being forced to say 2 + 2 are 5, otherwise we'll get torture. It's for us to believe that 2 and 2 are 5. We need something very difficult that comes next. And I'm pessimistic because I'm always saying there's something coming up more difficult. It's not enough to destroy wokeism. We have to build and to rebuild things by which it's worth living by, and things that our grandchildren and our grandchildren's grandchildren are willing to give their lives for. And that's not only destroying wokeism, which is fun, but we must go further.
Já não temos muito tempo e, portanto...
We don't have a lot of time, so to be as fair as possible, I'll give you time for final considerations by the three of you with the future motto of wokeism, how to fight it. And using the expression by Teresa, what can we build next? I'll start with Jorge.
Well, we have to know who it is, and where you come from, where do you come from, and who you are. This marks you. I would like to remind Antonio, we were in Madrid this week with all the group of the Patriots for Europe, all the Euro MPs of the Patriot group. There was intervention for the identity of Spain, which has formed for 800 years of fight against Islam to win back our country against Islam. And now you told me, well, we are running late. It also true that we managed to win the Socialist Party, and we didn't. But we will vanquish them. It will happen. So what to do? I think that first we have to see reality kills them. The young people in Portugal and the young people in Portugal, they support CHEGA, and in Spain they support Vox. Because there's an intoxication of these wrong ideas in schools, in academia, in their first job. No, they're all contaminated by the wrong ideas. It was the same topic in Portugal, the same topic in Spain, also in France, in Italy. They are intoxicated. They don't see. You must see reality. They have also high taxes. They hear that from their parents. They go on the street and they don't feel secure. They don't know how to address a girl, how to flirt. This is the reality in Spain, in Catalonia. Eight out of 10 offences are committed by foreigners. We have sexual attacks, thefts, all kinds of crimes. These are the facts, and this is our first battle. What can we do to reconstruct our countries? How can we reconquer our state? We have to reconquer the family. We don't have to invent anything. Because if we invent, we will be wokists. We have this already. We have the family, the nation, the local communities. They are all talking about and if you take the United Nations, faced with the European Union, we have also Barcelona. And also we have Galicia, we have the local communities, we have Galicia. All these the communities are very powerful, and also the money who comes has to convince the young people that we are Portuguese. How much money is wasted in Spain to the politicians? We are in Spain, and we on the network in YouTube. We can also find information which really matter to whole generations. When I was 35, we did not have internet. And now this is the paradigm is changing. We have to recover, win back the families, the local communities, our values. And also talking about the facts, and two things. When we will win, because we shall win, we win back the schools, the cities, and we have to get rid of all this garbage, which is really contaminating the spirit of our young people. We have to clean back also the schools, and I think the teachers have to teach the young people in mathematics, in history, nothing else.
Y la última, que es
And the last one, which is, of course, this is a lesson for the politicians, and also it is, in fact, it's difficult.
Nosotros estamos obligados como políticos.
We are obliged as politicians. We have to reach agreements. We have to reach compromises. This is the way it is. This is life. But for a politicians, what we can never do, we should never reach a compromise which involves renouncing to our principles. I mean, this is extremely important.
La historia de Portugal.
The history of Portugal, also, is not very different from the history of Spain. We've had a transition since the 70s, and we have also had the system of the two parties, two parties, the socialism who wants to destroy everything, and the right who is such a coward. They never want to decide anything.
Y ahí nosotros.
And here, if we want to reconstruct and fight against wokeism, well, I can give up some color, but I cannot reach a compromise renouncing to my principles. And I think that the politicians have also made these compromises about marriage. It is marriage is man and woman. Two. No. But these are two people who should love each other. But I think this was marriage. But now, marriage is two things which love each other. We're talking about crime like pederasty, pedophilia, and also.
Esto es un boli, pues esto es un matrimonio.
This can also be a marriage. This should be a nation. But we have to be firm, because the young people know that this is wrong. The young people cannot be fooled by all this. They don't accept it. I think that it is always difficult to talk about George, but that's something I stand for. We have to go back to basics, and in basics we are one person. Person is free to depend on oneself, and the person we have to depend on ourselves. We have to be able to educate our children so that they can depend on themselves. It seems a very simple principle, but it is essential. We have to depend on ourselves, and then we have to depend on the family, our family. Nobody lives alone, and after the family, we must live in community with our neighbors, with our parish, our people who live next to it, and then we live in our city, and then, yes, we live in our country. What socialism tells us? No, we depend on the state, that we depend on the state, and the state is going to look after us. And if someone looks after us, someone owns us. If we want to be free, we have to look after ourselves, to understand that there are networks around us, and accept them. This is why they decided to destroy communities. The first one was family, and then communitarism. Some years ago, how did people sort out their problems? I had a child, I had to work, I didn't know where to leave him. What did I do? I left him with the grandfathers, the grandmother, but if they couldn't, there was always some neighbor who could look after your child. They were the parish, the community helped. So we looked after each other. We did not depend on anybody. We depended on a network that we had formed. And socialism came and said, no. They said, well, we are the masters. And then they said, what are you doing? They told us not to get married, women can marry women and men, they say everything. And we, during many years, we accepted that this could happen because it's easier when someone looks after us. It's more comfortable. You have already since the morning someone who gives us, washes us and feeds us, and we go to bed, and it's all very easy. But we cannot accept this. The first thing to combat wokeism, to say we are our own masters, we are the capacity, we have to enhance our community. This is the spirit which has a lot of value, and that will never manage to combat this, to fight against this. And let me say something else which is true. Of course, the problems that we have today, where we have to be objective. I come from a campaign from Oporto. One of the many problems of Porto and other cities are the problems of housing, because the population of Porto has grown in the last 30 years. Was there an erosion? There's a problem for two reasons. Because for years they told people that they should leave home and live on their own, because before young people could live together. Now they say each young people must leave home and live on their own. And this is why we can't solve these issues. It is an issue which is linked to management. Say, what sort of society do we want? And this is linked to something very important. These are the principles. The combat to wokeism is the fight for principles that man is a man, that a woman is a woman. We have to live stronger within a community. We should not be afraid of this. We should not be ashamed to help each other, to support each other. This is the difference. And also to talk with a simple language, the language of love. Thank you.
Bem, eu vou ser muito breve porque não tenho já mais nada.
Going to be very brief. There's nothing much to say. We agree to all this. We don't have to invent anything. We know that the Western civilization, the biggest civilization which has ever existed, but the new generation did not have this opportunity. They have not been taught. They have not been shown this. If we look at the heroes of our history, we understand that we must be proud of our country, which has been a great country before. It's not with public funding for demonstrations that Portugal has to accept this and that. If we accept the idea that our history is horrible, well, how can we have a future? We must be proud of our past, of our roots, to know where we're going. And then there is also this basic concept that the conservatives, and even like Charlie Kirk used to say, there might be things in our life. You need this for our combat, also in our families, in our parents. There's nothing more extraordinary than a common man, a common woman, and their children. And of course, wokeism hates this.
Thank you, everyone. I would like to thank the ambassador once again, and say, Maria, it was a huge pleasure to be here. And I close this panel. It was a pleasure to be here with you three. Well, my friends, we got to the end of the intellectual part. I would like to thank. It was the first time that the Foundation for Patriots organized anything in Portugal. It was the first time. It was the first time that a political party leader participated in an event of Patriots. It was our André Ventura. I would like to congratulate my friend András László and thank him and Vajk Farkas for your help and for your determination in helping us out and to move on with this fight of ours. And we are by your side, as Miguel was saying. We don't care. We don't care about the other, so we count on you. You count on us. And I would like to also to thank all the members of the two panels, namely my colleague Virginie Joron, with who we fight the same fight, a titanic fight, she referred to in the European Parliament against wokeism and the bad management of the European Commission. It's not easy, I guarantee you. And we go there just like a medieval warrior at night, and many times we get hurt. To my dear friend Jorge from Spain, a very important person in the European Parliament of the Patriots, who helps us a lot as well, and has helped us to progress in that jungle, which is the European Parliament. Thank you, Jorge. And also to our members of the panel, to Riccardo Marchi, thank you once again for your words. José Carvalho, our professor, the only thing he has to say is to say intelligent things, but in a shorter period of time, please. Miguel, who did a wonderful campaign in Porto and who made us proud. And I'm sure he will be a man for the future. Thank you, Miguel.
Teresa
Nogueira Pinto, last but not least, due to a special reason. I didn't know Teresa, but she has a very special place in our heart because we know her mother, and we've been friends forever, and so I'm from the former generation, but I'm very pleased that the values of our generation were conveyed in a very intelligent way and a very strong soul to the next generation. Thank you, Teresa, and congratulations. To our chair people, thank you very much, Farkas.
For your wonderful job. You're wonderful as well. So it's a conjunction of two very nice things. But thank you very much for your attention and for your work.
And our Alexandre Sousa, thank you again for having a big collaboration that I hope we'll keep on having that collaboration with a great quality. And that's what I wanted to refer to. Those who worked to organize this conference, the staff, both of our foundation, of the center, the staff of my department in Brussels, because do not think that this happens overnight. No, it's a lot of work, and it's not my merit, it's the team's merit. Our team is a very united team, and on this side of the barricade, working day and night. Daniel, the only thing he knows how to do in life is to work, so he works 24/7. And the rest of the team as well, of course, Maria, Dina, Rodrigo. So all of them with us. Not people who went over there to earn money. No, that they believe. They believe in our values. They believe in us. And before being good for the soul, I will make you listen to some songs by a great friend of mine. And the lesson is we are here, not left and right, capitalism versus communism, is totalitarianism versus freedom, and we stand on the freedom side.